Wait for a few minutes for others to join.
Roy,
Next question, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, the video for the recording for yesterday's morning session.
Okay, the recording is actually it's online, but I made it private because most of the videos, when you play them, they are showing people's faces like the way you're seeing my face here now. So I'm trying to, I don't know, because I never asked anybody, although I told you that we'll be recording and be putting online, but I think we should try to also protect people's information. So I'm trying to edit it online here before I now finally released it. So if you notice, if you check for the Python one, it took me a while yesterday, but Python is it's up now. You can see for the Python. So, but for web, I have like 4 videos that I'm working on. But this YouTube Studio is really slow. I don't know, maybe it's my system or something. So, but very soon I would make it available because they've been uploaded already. It's just private, so you can't see it yet, but they are there. So I'll make it public so you can have it. Okay. So I think we are back. How many people do we have? 6. Okay, I think we're all back. Let's go ahead and okay, I want to talk about package. What is a package? Packages or a package does few things, which I'm going to explain. The number one thing it does, sorry, I'm trying to be sure that the recording has started so that okay, so one, it provides organization for your Java program. What do we mean by it provides organization for your Java program? When you become really writing applications now, I know we are just starting, there will be a way whereby you want to arrange your files. So for example, you may want to put all your services into one particular folder. You may want to put all your APIs into another folder. You may want to put all your JSON models or your data access objects or whatever you're using into another folder. So for you to be able to organize them and give them a single name so that each one that are in the same folder can be called by just one, can be referenced by just one single name. Okay, so that is when you need to use a package. Okay, and it's not that even you need to use it as a programmer in Java, you must use it. So, but it's going to change the structure of your files. That is very important. So you have to also follow naming conventions for naming packages. Packages are meant to be in lowercase when you are naming them. So I'll create one now. I'll use this example that I put in my notes so that we can understand what a package is. So I deliberately created or started this project without creating a package because I want to use it to explain to us. So now you can see that all I have here is SRC. I don't have any package name. So for me to create a package, I can just come under my SRC and do like this. Okay, this is fine. But before we go ahead, I would like to let us know that the way we are running this and it's showing here, and we're also running it on the web and it's showing over here. We can also run it in console and it will show. Okay, but I don't want to bore us with that information, but let's just go on. I will show us later. Okay, so to add a package, all I just have to do is to do what? Go to new, and click on package. Okay, so clicking on package, I might decide to give it a name, or let's not even do it from here. We can add it on top of this. I'll say package com.developers college example. So someone will ask me, so what does this mean? You can see that IntelliJ does not recognize it, and that's why it's putting red command on it. So, but it's asking me that I need to move this class. If I want this class to have a package name, com.developers college, I need to move it into, I need to move this class into this folder. Okay, so to do that, all I just need to do is to click on this error message and say move. So immediately I click on move, it creates that package for me. And you can see my hello world has disappeared into this space. So this poses a problem for me now immediately. My application will not run again. Let me clear this and show you. You know, before, once I click on run, my application works. Immediately I create a package, it will throw an error. Yes, so it can't find this main method anymore. Okay, just because I have moved it into a package. So, but for me to be able to run my application, I need to change the pointer where this is pointing to. Okay, so it's telling me that I have this part before where the application is, but now it can't find it anymore. So what I can do is to go to out, production, hello world, and try to run this from here. Or let me go deep inside. Okay, so you can see that the output of my program is also stored here. I can try to run this and see if it works. It's telling me that I need to create another name to run it. So I'll just leave it at main1 and click on run. Yeah, I know the configuration is not correct. Just continue. Okay, so let's run it and see. Then my application runs now. So it's not running directly from here anymore. It's running from here. Okay, so every time I click this now, my application runs. It's asking me this. So this is just to show us how to create package. So instead of doing this, when you want to start your project, you start by creating a package from the project, which is what I'm going to do now. So for you not to run into this problem of not being able to run and all that, so just make sure that when you are creating your project initially, you start by creating with a package. So how do we do that? I'm going to create a new project now, which is what we're supposed to start with, what we really want to do. I said we want to build a calculator, right? So I click a new project and I say next. I can tell it, maybe I might want to write everything from scratch or something. Let's say next. Okay. It's asking for, no, I want it to ask me for a package. So let me use the same template. Okay, so inside this package, I put this. So it should now look for how it's going to organize the structure for me immediately. So I put a simple calculator. Okay, so it's saying this is not a valid package name because I put what? Semicolon. Right? It's too long or something. Okay, let me repeat it. com.college. Let's see if we can use this. So what do you want as a developer's name? Okay, so I don't understand what this is doing. So if it's not working, then nothing is working. Wow. Okay, let's do it this way. Com. Okay, it accepted that. So, but ensure that you have what's it called? The format for package name is, you don't necessarily need to use com. You can just use the name of your company dot the name of the project you are working on, or you use the name of the project dot the name of the any submodules or whatever you want to use. So naming the package name most of the time follows the organization decision. So that let's say you are working for a particular company ABC, so you can just have ABC dot simple calculator. Do you understand? So that the name will be accepted, just like what you've seen here. So now what we've done is I've created this package name. So if we look at, I remember the name of my project is simple calculator. So if you look at this project structure now, you see that it has SRC and com dot simple calculator and main. So for us to go into where this project is created, let's quickly go and see how the structure is laid out. It's very important for you to know. Where's the structure? Yeah, inside ideal project, I have simple calculator somewhere. Simple. Yes, up here. SRC. Com, can you see? What you are seeing here looking like com.calculator, these are different folders and it's breaking it down inside com, simple calculator, and main. Okay, so in case you want to run your application, it needs to be able to find this main project inside this place. Okay, so now, but this necessarily does not have to be main every time. I can just call it calculate. Then it throws an error and says that the name should be the same thing or exactly the same thing as the name of the file, according to the rule I explained to us initially. So to do that, all I just have to do is to go to rename or refactor in IntelliJ and click rename files. So I put this here until refactor and everything is normal again. Then I can start writing my code all the way back. So this might be a quick way or a quick template for you to start writing your project in Java. Don't bother if in case it starts it with name, main or whatever, you can always change it and it's good that way. Okay, so now let's start writing our code. We want to start with variable. What's a variable? With that, I'm going to try to explain with a diagram. So in a computer system, we have memory. And we have different types of memory. We have what we call the ROM, read-only memory, and we have what we call the RAM, the random access memory. So we know that when your application loads, or your operating system like your Windows, when it loads, when you boot your system, it loads the whole OS into the RAM, okay? And also this our IDE, which is IntelliJ, is loaded into the RAM right now. So when you now write an application and you build an application, the application is, when you run it, it's running from the RAM. So RAM are like a partitioned cells or memory location, or I don't know how to call it. They are just like partitioned memory cells, whereby I can put A here, I put B here, I put B here. C, and the rest like that. So now, this is our RAM. This cell that I've drawn here is our RAM. In each of these block cells, we have locations or storage space. So storage A, storage B, storage C in the system memory. I'm trying to help you with visual aid so that I can understand. So we have storage A, B, and C. So if I decide that I want to write an application that will perform an addition of a number A and a number B, in the sense that I want to add 10 plus 12 to give me 22. This is what I want to perform in Java. This 10 must be stored somewhere, right? This 12 also must be stored somewhere. And the result of both of them must also be what? Stored somewhere. So for me to be able to store them, since I'm working in RAM, right? My application is loaded in RAM. I need to use part of RAM to say, okay, inside this RAM, in A, I want to store 10. In B, I want to store 12. And when I'm done calculating both the result of A and B, I want the result to be stored in C. Sorry if I'm taking a lot of time. I'll be storing the results in C. Yes. So A cell in RAM or in the memory has a particular address. For me to be able to store something inside, I must know it has address. Just like you live in a house on the street, so you have a house number, right? Each house has its number on that street. So let's see this whole block of cells as houses. So this is house number A, house number B, house number C. So for house number A, I'm storing 10 inside house number A. For house number B, I'm storing this, and the result will be in house number C. So, but when I'm writing my program, I want to be able to, instead of calling my 10, I want to be able to call A, so that whatever is stored in A will be given out to me whenever I call A. So instead of doing this, of saying 10 plus 2, in my programming, I'm going to do A plus B equals to C. Okay, so this is exactly this, because what A plus B is equal to C is going to do for me is going to go and look for the content that is stored in A. Remember, I said the content. And what is the content that is stored in A? 10. It's also going to go and look for the content that is stored in B. What is it? 12. The addition of both of them together, it will now store it in C. And so this is the concept of variables. That's all. So when you hear variable, this is what it means. Variable is a named memory location. This is the definition now. It's a named memory location where values are stored. That's all. So variable is the same thing in Java, it's the same thing in Python, anywhere. That's why I said that in this training, once you learn the syntax of a programming language, there's high probability or 80 probability chance that you are going to know the syntax of any other programming language. So the other things that you just need to now concentrate on is, okay, so what are the flexibility or what are the little differences between this language and this language? Okay, so let's go back to our slide. Does anybody have any question at this point? No questions. Okay, so now I am going to be creating a variable. So now let's just say a variable A, or let's call it, yes, A is equals to 20. Okay, then I terminate my statement with a semicolon. A is equals to 20. I'm terminating my statement with a semicolon. I say B. Okay, let's use exactly what we used there so that we don't make a mistake. I say B is equals to 12. I say C is equals to A plus B. So at the end of the day, I want to do what? System dot out. Please always note this syntax. System is starting with capital letter, out is lowercase, and your print line, I want to print my C. That's all. So I want to see the result of adding A and B together to give me C. And I want to print out C. So you can see that my A is showing in red, B and C is showing in red, because IntelliJ is trying to tell us that, what is this? I don't understand what this is. Okay. So now in Java, there's something we call data types. Okay. that will take us to data types. Let's see if, yeah, I've talked about this. Okay, it was not talked about here. So yeah, we'll get there, but let me explain practically first before we get there. So there's something they call data types. Going back to our former illustration, where is the screen? I was, do I need to type it again? Okay, still there, good. Going back to our former illustration, when you are saving a particular value, for the example, this is 10, into a memory location, you need to tell the system that this information I want to store is of this type. Okay, like for example, I can have another memory location called D here. And I decide that, okay, the information I want to store here is just my name. Okay, so that's all I want to store here. I don't want to store anything else. But now we all know that the name is different from this value. This is a numeric value or integer value, like numbers. And this is like characters, right? So for a memory location, you need to define what type of value you want to define into it at every point in time when you are defining it. So that takes us to what we call data types. So we have different types of data types. But because we all know that this one looks like an integer, and definitely it's an integer, because we know the difference between a decimal value and integer values. So we just put an int in front of it because it's an integer value. The same thing we do for this and this because they are integers. So you can see that all the errors has been removed now and everything is clean. So when you are declaring a variable, it is very important in Java. Java is strong type.
Your
Hello?
screen.
You said?
Didn't share your
okay.
Your screen was not shared.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, I just typed. They were all showing in red before. This is where we stopped. So I used the other screen to explain to us the concept of variables, because variables is something you would always use in programming. You can't escape it. So in Java, Java requires you specify the data type for your variable. So the data type for this definitely is integer. Let me just copy and paste. Okay, so now this will take us to other data types, but let's explain what's an integer. An integer has its own values and the range of values and how it is represented in memory. Okay, so when we have the time, we can go and look at that on our own. But I have the information in the slide. I can always show us. But let's just run this application and see how it works. Okay, I click on calculate run. Let's see if we get the error. This should give us a result of 22. Okay, so it's printed out the output. This same thing, I'm going to take it to our displays. Let me remove all this. Run it again so that you can see that you should get the same output. Okay, 22. So like I said, since you are using this, I will be using this, and we can always be getting the same result. So, but for in this place, I don't know if it's going to allow you to create a package, but you don't need it for now, since what we are just working on is value. So this is our addition. We've been able to add two numbers together. So, but let's buttress more on data types. So this in Java, we have the primitive data types that we always assume that they are built into the language, but the truth is that they are the foundation of all other types, you know, and they are just 4 in numbers. We have the integers, we have the floating number or the floating point, we have the character, and we have the Boolean. So this presentation really talks more about their types and how you can know them. Okay, but they are here. I don't need to be talking about this because you get to know them with time. As you begin to program, you get to know them. But something I want to talk about is that, one, they have the way they represent them in memory, and that is why we have this size in bits. You understand what bits are, okay? So for those that study computer science, they should know what bits are. So our representation in memory, okay? And we know that computer communicates in binary numbers. So that's where you get your bits from. So naming convention is what I would like to talk about here. No, I'm not just talking about types. So because we have all the types here, you have the integer. In the next slide, you should have the floating point. Floating point talks about when you have the values with decimal. Somebody asked me a question, I can't remember what class, when I said float is 32 bits and double is 64 bits, which is represented here. So we should know more about this, but there are IEEE representation. I don't bother myself much about that, but you should, because when you want to build a big applications, you need to put all these things in consideration. Because if you don't, let's say for a value that is supposed to be an integer, you don't want to represent it with long, okay? That would be a problem. That means you are assigning a big memory location or memory value to a particular field that just needs small representation. So when you now have billions of people calling that application and they are all taking that large memory space, the application will become slow and it will be dragging. Then people will say, oh, okay, you've heard about some websites when a lot of people are logging into it and the website will just crash and all that. So, but it has nothing, it's not just about all these little representations. There are some other things that are to be considered in that, like the bandwidth and the rest. But if you can tidy up your representations of your variables and your data types and your classes and everything in the lowest level, then all those other bandwidth issues and the rest can be taken care of easily by other people. Okay, so we have the integer type, we have the floating point types, we have the character and the boolean. Okay, so I don't want to miss something out, which is naming variables. So when you are naming a variable, you should never use a space in between. For example, when I say int A, this is not a good way in Java anyway, because we are just testing something that I'm using it. Let's say I want to say int first number. From the look of things, this is a two words together, two words, you see? So first and number. I cannot say first space number, okay? So that is not possible. So what I can do is I can say first underscore number. I use the underscore to join both of them together, okay? So that's what I do. But another person might want to say, can I start a variable name with, just give me a second. Okay, another person can say, can I start a variable name with numeric number? For example, 1, 2, okay? That is not allowed. So one rule is that you can't start with numeric, but in between first number, you can have numeric, but you can't start a variable name with numeric value. So those are naming conventions. And there are other naming conventions that you need to know. Like for example, you can't say class is equal to this. This is a keyword to the system or to Java. It means special, it has special meaning to Java. And so because of that, you cannot use keywords as variable names. So I haven't understood that. Just let's note that we cannot use all those kind of things. So for you to just join numbers together, it's better you use underscore to join two words together. So I'll have my first number. And the last one is that, before I forget, the last one is that in naming variables, always use the camel case. Okay, camel case means that the first letter must be a lowercase, and then the next one, or if you are joining words together like this, should be an uppercase. I think I have something like that in this slide. Let's see where that is. Oh, okay. Maybe it's not here. Okay, but naming convention, yes. Camel case, yes, it's the first letter is always lowercase. Start each of the word after the first. okay, with uppercase, and all letters, all other letters should be lowercase. So just for example, you see, you have int total grade 4 bank account balance. Okay, bank is starting with lowercase, account is starting with capital, which is A, and then the balance is starting with A. So this is what we refer to as camel case. We have other cases or other naming convention which you can explore in Java. But for people to know that you're a professional or that you know what you're doing, or they want to see the way you name your variables, these are some of the little things that people put in consideration before you are hired as a developer. So just a second. And I have my results. So anybody going through my application now or going through this program would understand what I am doing, even without me putting a comment. Anybody looking at this will understand what I'm doing without me putting a comment. Okay, so this is, I've named my variables properly now. Okay, so another thing I want us to know is that if I should say 12.45, okay, and I make it F. So now see, there's a problem. I'm trying to assign a floating number to what? To an integer. It becomes a problem. But I can do this. Let's do this. What I've just done is what they call typecasting. So I have this variable or this value as a floating number, but Java, because of the strong typed nature it has, it cannot allow you to automatically assign a fixed number to an integer. So I have to convert this to an integer before I can assign it. But for us to do that, let me see the result. Let's look at the result so that you can see, because something will happen. Some values will be truncated out because you are converting this side to an integer. An integer doesn't take the decimal part of the number. So definitely it's going to truncate something out. So let's print second number and also print the results. So let's run this. Okay, you can see that because I'm converting it, it truncates the whole part of the number. But if I decide to just make this maybe float and remove this, now we're having a problem because you want to add a float with an integer and you want to store the result in an integer. That's another problem. So Java is saying, no, you can't do that. So most of the time, IntelliJ will allow you or will help you to be able to check a lot of mistakes that you will easily make when you are programming. Okay, so all you can do, the best way you can just do is to make this a float so that the result will give us a floating number at the end of the day. Okay, so let's see the result. That's the final number. Now we have 22.5. So all these data types and the rest of them, you need to understand how to use it and how to use it properly. Okay, so we also talk about character and Boolean. Those ones are straightforward, simple. I think we should skip it, but let me just mention it. Okay, for example, you want to check if character first alphabet. Okay, and then so this is just to accept only one character. That's how I'll put it. Just to accept only one character. But if you want to have multiple characters, you can use the string. Do string first word, and this accepts more than one character, so you can put a lot of things in here. So the string is allows you to put like more than one character into a memory location called a variable, and you can output this result anywhere at any time. So the other one is Boolean. Boolean is either true or false. Okay, so you can decide to name a variable if exists. True. Okay, so and you can use this depending on whatever you want to use it for in your program. So you should try and find out more on how to use Boolean. Okay, so there's something that the slide is talking about for values. It's saying that values are stored by variables of primitive types are stored by values. What does that mean? That means that, for example, see this first number. According to our definition, this first number will define 10 to be inside it. So at a point in time after doing my calculation, I might decide to, okay, let me see how best I can explain this. Please, in case you have any question while I'm doing this, please let me on, just call me, I will try to explain. Okay, so after printing it out, I decide that I want to assign something else into first number. So I decided to put a 30 into it. And I still continue another calculation. At that time, I don't need to define this. Okay, another thing you should note that we only define variable once. We don't define it every time you are using it. So like first number, I've defined it once here using this data type. So the next time I'm using it, I'm not going to put data type in front of it anymore. If you do that, it's going to throw an error, okay? So the data type is used only when we are declaring the variable. Okay, so now I have assigned 30 into first number. So I still want to use 30 to perform my calculation and still print out the result again. So this meeting is going to end in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So when it does, we should try and click the link back so that we can connect. I'll wait for 2 extra minutes for all of us to come back to continue. Okay, so we should see the results now. I'm going to comment out all this. Okay, so once I comment out all this, you know what the comment is. I explained it before. They will not be executed. So what I just want to see is that I want to see the result here, and I also want to see the result here, so that I can explain the concept of stored by value. Okay, so you can see that for a variable, like I said, it's a named memory location. But when we are talking about primitive types, your integer, your Boolean, your character, and the other one. So when we are talking about that, they store value in the memory cells. So the value can change at any time. This name, first number, is referring to that memory location. It's not talking about what you keep inside, right? So every time I'm calling first number, I'm calling that memory location. So anything I'm storing in that memory location is what I am using. And that value can change at any point in time, because within my flow, I used it, I assigned 10 into it, and I use it to get a result. And after, I tried to put 30 into the same location, and I still got another result. So this name location, when they are primitive types, they can change at any time, just like what we explained in our whiteboard. This location. So for the fact that I have 10 here today, doesn't mean that I cannot put 20 there after a while in my program, okay? So the value can change, but the reference name is only referencing this cell. So that is very important. Once you understand that, then it's very key. The values can change, but the name, which is the name of the variable, does not change, except you want to create another variable that will give you another cell. So that's that's how I will put it. Let's continue sharing the screen. Okay, so that's the simple explanation to primitive types stored by values and all that. So when we come back, we are going to start with arithmetic operators, because we need to finish these arithmetic operators before we can now build our calculator. Okay, so I'll see you in